Hello, this is Dr. Rodriguez from Arizona State University, Fulton Schools of Engineering. And what I wish to discuss in this video is an outline for a comprehensive career plan. Part of what we would like all of our academic success and professional development program scholars to do is take charge of their career. And so one of the exercises that we want you to engage in is planning your career. And the key thing here is we want you to look 10 years past, 10 years after graduation. Now we know that that's difficult to do, all right? But you can learn so much by doing that. And one of the key reasons we want you to do this is because it will help you figure out what area you want to work in, what problems do you want to work in, what companies do you want to work at, where do you want to live, where do you want to work, okay, etc. and so forth. How do you see your life changing every 5 years, every 10 years? Things like that. We think it's important to think about those things now so that you can reflect on your thoughts and start planning. Planning what it is that you want to do in the future. Okay. Now, we all know time is precious, and that's why it's critical that you plan your work and you work your plan. Now, we've tried to put a detailed outline together here. I'm not going to go through every aspect here. I'm just going to go over it very briefly. All right, so we want you to start planning now. All right, that's vitally important. Very, very critical. Okay, if there's an area that you wish to work in, well, we want you to start thinking about that area now, not later, right? If you wish to work in any of the following cutting-edge areas: lithium-ion phosphate battery technologies for electric vehicles, self-sufficient carbon-neutral buildings, you know, and I could just go on and on. This is a very, very nice long list, all right, which, by the way, I can make much, much longer. Well, you must start planning now, not later, now, so that when opportunities come before you, you are prepared. You are prepared. Okay. So here are some fundamental assumptions. In what follows, we make two fundamental assumptions. Anything worthwhile requires hard work. Loving what you do is wonderful. Try to speak to people that really love what they do. If you can work on something you think is cool, then you are much more likely to love what you do. I am constantly working on things that I am really, really passionate about. I love my job because it allows me to work on almost anything that I want to. I just have to decide that's what I want to work on. Okay, I want to work on, let's see, missiles that hit other missiles. I can do that. By the way, I've done that. I want to work on laser weapons that are based in space to shoot down missiles. I can work on that. By the way, I've done that. I want to work on rovers or maybe collections of rovers, all right, robotic ground vehicles to map environments and explore. I could do that. By the way, I've done that too. I want to work on drones, various different types of drones that maybe coordinate with ground vehicles in order to gather intelligence. Well, I could do that too. By the way, I've done that, and I'm doing that still. I want to work on vehicles that go 5 to 20 times the speed of sound, hypersonic vehicles, airplanes, scramjet-powered airplanes. I could do that. By the way, I've done that too. And I could go on and on and on with these by the ways, but this presentation would be much longer than I wanted to, so let me continue. Okay, so guidelines. This should be 10 pages or greater or so for our scholars here at ASU. All right, we give some 11-point font, Times New Roman, write in first person. You should be looking 10 to 15 years, okay, past graduation. And this comprehensive career plan should be updated each semester. Each semester it should be updated. And it might not be updated too much from semester to semester, but if that is true, then that means you didn't learn much that semester. Let me try to elaborate. Each semester, as engineering students, we take new classes. And these new classes are very different than the previous classes. I mean, you may not realize it, but you actually learn a lot of stuff, and it's applicable to a lot of stuff. And so if you just see that new stuff you learned is applicable to your areas of interest, and it is. You may not see it. If you don't, well, you need to speak to someone who can see it for you, explain that to you, show you how it can be readily applied, and then you should incorporate that into your career plan, okay, this comprehensive career plan, okay? All right, so let's get into this. All right, so most of the following topics should be addressed within your comprehensive career plan. And as a rule, guideline, this is a guideline that we're presenting here, I want like you to address all of these. If you're not sure what to do, well, then you can speak to a mentor, a professor, another student, a more senior academic success and professional development scholar, ASAP scholar student, okay, and get ideas. Okay, so what's a summary of your goals and objectives? Long-term goals, maybe shorter-term goals, shorter-term objectives, maybe some even shorter-term milestones and targets that you're shooting for, all right? What technical area do you want to work in the future? Why? All right, and there's some pointers here on selecting a technical area. I've written a document just on selecting a technical area, so you should look at it. It's on our website, all right? What are your professional goals and objectives, right? And we understand that could be difficult for you to think about, but we want you to start thinking about what area do you want to work on, what problems you want to work on, what type of work environment do you want to work in, what companies might you want to work at, what part of the country do you want to work at in or live, do you want to travel? You want to work behind a desk? You want to work behind a computer? You want to work in the laboratory, testing stuff and building stuff in the laboratory? or you want to go outside where you have to test your stuff on the road, on a racetrack, in the air, underwater, in the forest, in space. I could just go on and on and on. What do you want to do? This is your slate. This comprehensive career plan is your slate, on which you can articulate, try to articulate, start articulating what it is that you want to do. And again, this is not intended to be an English assignment, grammar and structure and all that, blah, blah. This is intended to be a thinking assignment, a thought assignment. Write in small sentences, write in bullets. Okay, you can use figures when you need figures, blah, blah, blah. All right. We just want you to take this very serious. Okay? All right. So we've again said, what are your professional objectives? Don't get bogged down with the language. Try to provide the short and long-term goals and objectives. The more specific you can be, the better. This plan, yes, it's going to be graded. If you're in our ASAP class, our 2-credit ASAP class that all scholars are required to take every single semester as long as they're on scholarship, yes, it will be graded. But that's not why you should be into this and want to do a detailed job. You should want to do a detailed job fundamentally to tell your brain what it is you want to do. This is communicating with your brain. Okay? And what that means is putting in your brain, or figuring out what should be in your brain. Okay? Because often our brain is filled with doubt, or it's filled with 20 things. And we need to go from 20 things to maybe 3 things or 5 things. This plan can be used for that. Okay? So I give some examples in the short term, 5 years after bachelor's, and and long term, 10 years after bachelor's. I wish to blah blah blah. So you can look at these things and these examples I give and come up with your own. All right. So while the focus of the comprehensive career plan is really on your career, we also want you to think beyond the career. And yeah, I really mean way beyond the career. So I mean thinking in terms of happiness, thinking in terms of family, where you live, how you live, etc., and so forth. So this is serious here. And again, you may be thinking, well, I don't know what I want to do, and I don't want to think about this. Okay. So here's my response to that. 1, if it hurts your brain to think about this, well, then you're like most people. And this is maybe the first reason why we want you to do this. Okay? Because we are trying to attack that thing you call a brain and train it properly. And this is not a professor speaking to you. Yeah, I am a professor, sure. But this is more of a friend telling you, hey, you need to train that brain. Right? The brain is controlling you. Don't let the brain control you. You got to control it. When the brain says, hey, don't do that, you're exercising, and the brain is going, stop that, it's bothering me. Now, the brain is wrong. You know that the exercise is good for you, provided you're not throwing up and fainting. But usually the brain is telling you to slow down and stop and I don't want to do this before you even start the exercise. That is a matter of training your brain. We are egocentric creatures, meaning that our brains, our inners, are just trying to protect us. But we also know that our inners, our brain, is irrational and doesn't always do what is best for us. All right. So given the above, what are your life goals? What are your life objectives? So remember, goal is more like big things that you're shooting for, and then goals are like smaller things that you need in order to accomplish the bigger goals. Okay? All right. So the goal is like your destination, and the goals and the objectives are sort of like the cities you visit on your way to the destination. Right? That's the way to think about it. Okay? And that's a city, a traveling analogy that I've given you, not to be taken literally. Okay. All right. What's your current status? What's your current education status? What courses have you completed to date? What are you prepared to do? What is missing? What coursework are you looking forward to? Why? What will it permit you to do in the future, etc.? Okay. Okay. Far too often students do not connect what they learn in courses to real-world problem solving. This is very unfortunate. We want you to start thinking how each of your courses can help you solve important real-world problems that you are interested in, because they can. And let me just say that as soon as you say this course or those courses have nothing to do with my world, here's what you've done. You have locked yourself out of probably a whole bunch of amazing, cool problem-solving opportunities and job opportunities, and many in areas of national and global importance. Please be careful before you say no. You should also be careful when you say yes, but when you say no, in this context, it could be a no forever. And forever is a very long time, folks. Okay, so be careful before you close doors. All right. Professional preparation. How are you going? How are you doing with respect to each of the following? Resume, cover letter, writing skills, giving presentations, career plan, having professional, personal mentors, working independently, working in teams, reading and understanding technical material, using math, science, and engineering concepts to solve real-world problems. What do you plan to do to improve each of the above? This is important, folks. Here's another one. It's not on this list. Your thinking. Have you ever thought about your thinking? Thinking about your thinking? Well, that's the definition of critical thinking. Well, how good is your critical thinking right now? If your critical thinking is messed up, that impacts all your decision making, folks. You want your critical thinking to be very good. And that takes time, it takes effort. So we want you to think about your thinking. Okay, that's very important. So are you in control of your emotions? Are you rational with respect to decision making? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good to be passionate. And it's good to have emotion about things. But don't get that confused with decision making. Okay? When there's decision making to be made, and it's important decision making to be made, you want to have a systematic approach, a logical approach. You want to look at all the different possible decisions that you might effectuate. Okay, try. All right, you want to give reasons for each. You want to give pros and cons for each. Want to look at the consequences of each. Make sure that you get the pros and the cons right, etc. and so forth. Okay? All right. Let's keep going. Personal life. How is your social life? What is good about it? What is missing? What do you intend to do in order to fill in what is missing? Economic status. Where are you financially? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? How do you plan to achieve your financial objectives? Okay, and that is an indirect way of asking you to think about what you want to do as an engineer. You want to really think about the job that you'll be getting, where it will be, how much it will be paying, the benefits that you might have, okay, because all that impacts finances. All right? And here I write, do not worry too much about money. Should say money. All right, the E has been dropped out. And yeah, we don't think that you should worry too much about money. You're going to be engineers. You're going to make very good money. You should be more concerned about other things. You should be concerned about what area you'll be working in, what problems you'll be working in. Do you like that? Do you like the problems? Do you like the environment that you'll be working in? Do you like the tools that you'll be using? Do you like the culture that you'll be working within? Do you understand? Do you the job uncertainty associated with that area? How big is it? Right? Or is there fairly steady work in that area? Or is it very, very cyclical? Okay, so you want to think about these things. All right? Next, your education. Okay? Why is education important to you? You should answer that, because that is extremely important. If your answer is, well, it'll help me get a good job, then you really you have a long way to go, because you don't fully appreciate, for example, why as engineers we have to engage in lifelong learning forever. Not just because I think it's cool. I do think it's very, very cool to keep learning, but because we need to do it for job security. All right, so my goodness, education is vitally important. And it is about information and using information and becoming good at using information and applying that information and knowledge that you learn to real-world problems. So this is the beginning toward answering that education. Why is education important to you? And never mind, I haven't even gotten to the fact that if you plan on having a family, it will impact your education or lack thereof, up to you. Your education will impact every single member of your family. Your spouse, your children, your dog, other pets you might have. You might have a cat. You may be a cat person. Okay? your parrot, canary, etc. All right. All right. Educational goals. What degree objectives do you have, short and long term? Suppose you're working on your bachelor's degree. Do you want to get a master's degree? The answer to that question is yes. Yes. If you don't know that that's the answer, let me tell you right now, the answer is yes. All right, so I'm joking a little bit with you, but I'm also not joking. We want all of you to go on and get a master's degree. It's not because you're going to make $10,000 to $15,000 a year. It is because you will be able to work on much cooler problems. You'll be given much more flexibility in terms of hours, resources, when you can come in, when you can leave, again, what people will be available to you and other resources, hardware, software, travel opportunities. You'll be able to climb that ladder faster. You'll get promotions faster. You'll get raises faster. I could just go on and on. Oh, yeah, when those layoffs come, and they will come because you have that master's degree, they may decide to keep you. Because these high-tech companies, they need brain power, folks. All companies these days need brain power. Okay, so that is vitally important. Do you want to get a PhD? Maybe you want to work on really, really, really cool problems and advanced problems. Okay? Maybe you want to work on cool, advanced problems all the time, and so you want to work at a national lab. Okay, Lawrence Livermore, Sandia National Lab, etc. Okay? All right? Maybe you want to work at a university as a researcher. Maybe you want to be a professor. Okay, so that you can work on anything you want. It's up to you to decide what you want to work on. And then you just have to write proposals in order to get money to work on what you want to work on. And maybe if you do your doctoral dissertation in the right area, all right, when you graduate, you will have lined up your eggs properly so that there's lots of companies and funding agencies that want to give you money to continue working on these things that you started working on during your PhD. So this is something to consider. The world is becoming more and more technological. There's an ongoing technological revolution. It's accelerating. It is incredible. It will continue to accelerate even more. The world needs more highly trained people. So yes, the need for PhDs is going to increase, especially in a country like this that relies, a country whose economic future relies on continued innovation. And innovation often occurs at the edges of disciplines. Okay? And usually, in order to be able to work in that space, the edges of innovation, you need to go all the way. You need to get that PhD so that you have lots of education and you're thinking about, okay, how are they doing things now? What are the pros and cons? What should be done 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? What are different approaches for addressing the problems, the issues 10, 15 years from now? And how can maybe we make that stuff happen sooner? Okay? And I could just go on and on. with application areas, clean energy, driverless vehicles, and I could just go on and on with stuff. All right, let's keep going. What planned coursework do you have? What courses do you plan to take? When? Why? Are you building towards something other than a degree? Okay? Thinking about a company, for example. Okay? All right. Include summer plans. Your summer plans could include special courses, projects, internships. Summers are very important. They are not to be squandered. Squandered summers will show up on your resume. People are going to see gaps and they're going to ask you, what did you do this summer? Saying nothing, it's not good. Especially if it's for several years. If it's one summer and you say, hey, after working a year at this job, I saved up, and then I took a trip to Europe and I visited Italy, France, Spain. Okay? And I saw this, and here's how it influenced me in terms of my career. Okay, something like that, cool. But you can't spend all your summers in Italy, France, and Spain. You should be doing other things to move your education and your career forward substantively. All right. Educational opportunities. What educational opportunities do you plan to apply for? This could include, for example, NSF or GEM fellowships for graduate school, or scholarships for undergraduate, or scholarships for graduate school. Right? You can apply for the SMART scholarship, for example. Okay. Your engineering Bachelor of Science degree can be a first critical step toward any one of the following: a more advanced engineering degree, medical school, law school, for example, patent law, business school. Okay? I've seen students go on to dental school, all right, and on and on and on. All right? There's many things you can do with your engineering degree. Okay? The above are things you might have already thought about, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so please think about these things. Okay. Why? Next is research experience. Why is research important to you? Well, some of you may be thinking, I don't want to do any research. That's very unfortunate because almost all of us have to research, let's see, what car we want to buy, what house we want to buy, what vacation we want to buy. Go on. Let's see. What type of spouse we want to have. What school, what type of school we want to send our kids to. Let's keep going. How we want to raise our kids. How we want to educate our kids. This is all research, folks. Research is about asking questions. Okay? It is not about working in the laboratory with mice in a white suit, all right, and you don't leave, and you don't have any friends, and you don't talk to anyone. No. All right, here's another one. Maybe you want to start a business. If I had a penny for every time I met a student that said, an engineering student that said, I want to start a business, I want to start a business, you ask them, well, do you have a product in mind? No. Do you have an area in mind? Okay, say technology. That could be anything. Do you have any plan in mind? Well, I'm going to get an MBA. That's not a plan, folks. That is more like a wish or a hope, meaning a hope wish, meaning I hope that if I get an MBA, then all of that will get figured out. All right, now, let me just tell you, lots of people go and get an MBA, and they don't start a company. All right, and the MBA degree doesn't help them or doesn't figure things out for them. Okay? If anything, they might say that a technical degree might help them figure out what type of business they want to start, etc., and so forth. Because the MBA doesn't provide you with that technical knowledge, so to speak. Okay. All right. So why is research important to you? Remember, we want you to use research as a vehicle to help you figure out what you are truly passionate about. So when I use the word research, I'm using it in a very, 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 very broad sense. Now we know that the word research gives a heart attack to some of you young people. And so for that reason, we have often used the word project instead. Okay? Why is project experience important to you? And even that scares people. But you better not be scared by that, because everyone in industry uses that. Okay? They want to see on your resume projects that you've worked on. Okay? And they want to see what homework you've done. By the way, that's research. Okay. So what are your research goals or project goals? You may wish to address the following: research topic or project topic, problem, approach, possible objectives, maybe an advisor or a mentor to help you, all right? What professional conferences you might go to in order to help you, etc., and so forth. Okay? What research/project opportunities do you plan on pursuing? There are many research/project opportunities that you can try to take advantage of here at ASU. Fulton Undergraduate Research Initiative, NASA Space Grant, WASO or Western Alliance to expand student opportunities. And there's many other opportunities around the nation, at universities as well as at companies. Okay? So what research/project opportunities do you wish to pursue? Explain why. That's important. Okay? By the way, this career plan, if done properly, is something that you can show someone. It can be part of your engineering portfolio. And if there's some things in here that you feel are too personal or you don't want a hiring of someone at a company who's hiring engineers to see, all right, well, you can take out that snippet. Just leave in stuff that you feel is good for them to see. So once again, we are using the term research here as representing a critical mechanism for learning what you're truly passionate about. Generally speaking, this does not occur in your classes. Okay. Next, important deadlines. What are the deadlines for each of these opportunities that we just went over? Okay, that you wish to apply for. What is the application procedure? All right, so there are important deadlines for all these things that we mentioned. You know, Fury, WASO, There are important deadlines for STEM scholarships, NSF and GEM fellowships, or other fellowships, Office of Naval Research, ONR, etc. For these fellowships are for graduate school. Okay, fellowships are for graduate school. Fellowships can help you pay for your graduate tuition. They can also give you a monthly living stipend. Okay, an NSF fellowship, for example, will pay for your tuition. Doesn't matter where you go to school. And it will give you about, I think it's about $35,000 a year for you to live on. That's pretty cool for just going to school, graduate school. And I recommend it highly. Now, the NSF fellowships are very competitive, but if you line up your ducks well ahead of time, then when you are a senior, fall semester, senior year, right around the October, November time frame, that's when you start applying for NSF fellowship, GEM fellowship, start applying for graduate school for the next fall. Okay, so you should be aware of these cycles. These cycles have been in place since before I went to college and graduate school. Okay. And let's see. I think I already mentioned summer plans. Right. But now it's summer plans with respect to research. Okay, so that's very important. Industrial or work experience. Here, industrial work experience can imply working at a company, national laboratory, university, etc. So what's the importance of this experience? Why is industrial / work experience important to you? And again, it is important to be able to answer this. It is important for you to be able to answer this, not for me, not for someone else, not for the grader in this ASAP class. It's important for you to answer this for your brain first, okay, so that you can think clearly up there. And then secondly, for that face-to-face encounter with that recruiter or hiring or engineer or manager or vice president or CEO that's present at the career fair looking for a summer intern. Okay, what prior industrial work experience have you had? Right? What industrial work experience would you like? Biomedical company, pharmaceutical, hospital, national lab, NASA, one of the traditional technical companies, say semiconductors, like Intel, ON Semiconductor. Are you interested in communications? Do you want to work for a company that builds satellites, etc. and so forth? Let's keep going. Internships to be pursued, right? There's all sorts of internships that can be pursued. And so you need to think about these, okay, and explain why. Just so you know, I'm going to be updating this document very soon. And so when you see the document, it may look a little different than what's in this video. I'll be fixing the typos, etc. and so forth. And then maybe at some point I might update this video, but I think I'm capturing the important things I want to capture. Community service. Okay? Why is community service important to you? It might not be important to you. And if it isn't, well, that's not good, because I think that one of the most amazing things that I've been able to do in my life is give back. What I'm doing right now, in a way, is giving back. I've been fortunate. I had a few mentors that significantly impacted my life, and I'm eternally grateful for what they gave me. Okay, and I have been lucky to have worked on amazing, amazing, amazing problems, and so I would like you to work on amazing, amazing problems. And I know you can. Not I think I can. I know it. It's just a matter of planning your work and working your plan. Now, I did some planning my work and working my plan when I was young. But I know so much more now. There's so much more accessible knowledge to young people now. You have the internet. My goodness, that's incredible. All right. So the planning that you can do is phenomenal. And so even though I've had the opportunity to work on some amazing things, the things that you can work on with a little planning can be so much cooler than what I've worked on. Okay. Let's see. The next, let's see. So why is community service important to you? How can it help you in your careers? And this question is important, okay, because community service can help you significantly in your career. Here, let's look at it from this point of view. By going out into the community and working with people, you can see what problems they have, how they're addressing it, solutions they're bringing forth to try to address these problems. You can see and ask, what's missing? Oh, what's missing? I'm an engineer. What do engineers do? Create things. You can go back to your laboratory or wherever it is that you do your work. It could be at a company. It could be in a cubicle at a company, all right? Or it may be an office, etc. Okay, get more education. You get more education, you may get that office. Okay? So do that. Okay. Employers and leadership. Prospective employers are all looking for leaders that know how to bring teams of people together, not just work in teams. It must be emphasized that we would never want you to sacrifice your grades or health to do community service. So the implication here is this: by getting out into the community and helping people with problems and bringing your engineering knowledge to the table, you can tell them or help them and say, hey, I'm going to help you and bring these resources together to help you solve your problem. Well, what do we call that? Folks, we call that leadership. Okay, that's not just being a nice gal or being a nice guy. That's called leadership. And folks, that is one of the biggest things companies are looking for. They're looking for individuals that not only can work in teams, but that can bring teams together, and that can be resourceful, and that can exercise leadership. All right, let's keep going. Prior community service. What community service have you engaged in? Why? Who did you impact? How did you impact them? What did you get out of it, etc.? What community service would you like to pursue in the future? Why? What professional organizations are you a member of now? Do you plan to join? Explain why. All right, etc. What is your plan for building leadership skills in the future? Personal mentoring plan. Why is mentoring important to you? What type of mentoring would you like to receive? Why? What questions would you like answered by mentors? What is your plan to gain suitable mentoring? What potential mentors have you identified? What have you discussed so far with those mentors, if anything? All right. Next, how about economic and financial goals? What are your economic goals? Short term, 5 years. Long term, 10 to 15 years. Okay? Do your professional goals and objectives support these goals? That is, are your professional goals and objectives consistent with your economic goals and objectives? All right? So, if you're planning on driving a Ferrari, well then, maybe a bachelor's degree might not be enough. Unless you start your own company, you're very successful, blah, 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 blah. Okay, not everyone can be a college dropout like a Bill Gates, okay, and Zuckerberg, etc. There's not too many on that list, folks, right? Typically, people give like 2, 3 names, and then that's it. They'll say, well, they did it. Yeah, but they can't give any more names. All right? Get that education, folks. The more education, the better. Get that education. The more you get, the better. Okay. Next, graduate school. Here we go. Speaking of education. Let me just look a little bit here. I'll be right back. Yeah, okay. So the previous one, you got to make sure that what you want in life aligns with the realities of your job. Okay, so that's important. And I want you to think about that a little bit, but just so that you can have both feet on the ground, planet Earth. But money should not be your big driver. Your big driver should be, what do you want to work on? What are you passionate about? Because if you're passionate about something, the money will come. Okay, it doesn't really work the other way around. Bill Gates did not try to revolutionize software because he wanted more money. He tried to revolutionize software because he saw he could, and he saw that it would revolutionize society. Zuckerberg did not just develop his company to get money. He developed it because he saw he could revolutionize the way in which we communicate with one another. He saw that we could make the world smaller, a smaller, more intimate place. And then, of course, yes, he did see, both of them saw how much money they could make. Billions of dollars. Lots of zeros. All right, next, graduate school. Why is graduate school important to you? And for those of you in this program, even if you're a freshman at the community college, go to graduate school. Because there's an ongoing technological revolution, and the world, and specifically this nation, needs highly educated people. Big companies can't get enough highly educated people, graduate students. That's why a lot of American companies are importing talent from abroad. And that will continue to happen. That will remain a part of the nation's employment portfolio, that is recruiting talent from abroad. But, well, you got to think of everything. Okay, folks? All right. All right. Think of all these things. Graduate school is important, not just because you're going to make $10,000 to $15,000 a year. Okay. What are your higher education goals? So again, here we want you to be thinking problems you want to solve, where do you want to work, how do you plan on climbing that ladder of success? Do you want to climb that ladder of success? And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about working on cool stuff and having resources to work on cool stuff, and maybe managing teams of people to work on cool stuff, or leading teams to work on cool stuff. There's a difference. Leaders of technical teams are telling the teams, hey, do this, 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 this. Managers of technical teams are sort of, hey, they want us to do this. What are your ideas for doing this? Okay, what resources do you need? I'll try to get you those resources. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Okay. So let me belabor the point a little bit more. An MS degree is becoming increasingly important as the ongoing global technological revolution continues to grow. Moreover, doing an MS thesis, okay, lots of students don't want to do an MS thesis. They don't even think about it. Doing an MS thesis can help you figure out what you are truly passionate about. Okay, so that's a reason for even thinking about a thesis. A thesis is nothing more than a long-term project. And I advise doing a thesis very much to those individuals that want to graduate and tell a company, look at what I did for the last 2 years. And here, it's documented in my thesis. And when I go work for your company, I want to just continue using some of these tools and some of these techniques in order to help you with your problems. Okay. Okay. What do you wish to pursue in graduate school? Why? What plans have you made? Describe your graduate school preparation plans. How do you plan to prepare for each of the following? GREs, other entrance exams, graduate school admissions. For example, preparing a statement of purpose, applying for fellowships, etc. All right, if you plan on doing a thesis, all right, do you plan to, do you plan on doing a thesis? Why? If so, what will be your research topic? Why? Have you thought about who will serve as your MS thesis supervisor? Have you thought about your MS thesis committee? Same types of questions for a PhD. Have you thought about pursuing a PhD in engineering? Why? If so, what will be your research topic? Why? And again, when I use the word research, I know it's causing some people their ears to bleed, but I could have used the word project. What do you want to work on? Problem you want to solve? Don't let the word research scare you, folks. Please don't let that happen. Because, as I said earlier, we're all going to be doing research on stuff. All right. All right. Have you ever thought about becoming a professor? Have you? It is a great job. There's a question mark there. It should be an exclamation. It is a great job. Lots of flexibility, great salary, etc. Give it some thought. You'll need a PhD for this. Okay? All right. Describe next long-term professional goals. Describe in more detail your long-term professional goals. Job description. Provide a detailed job description for your long-term job. Okay? You ought to address responsibilities, flexibility, flexible hours, ability to choose work environment, ability to work from home, leadership, responsibilities, benefits, etc. You should be thinking about starting your own company. Or you may want to think about starting your own company. Do you wish to start your own company one day? What do you know about the following, if that's what you want to do? Becoming incorporated, forming an LLC, venture capital, intellectual property, patents, trademarks, etc. So if you're interested in starting a company, then you have to know about these things. All right, let's keep going. Next, lifelong learning. Okay, lifelong learning implies that you will need to continue throughout your careers. You need to continue learning throughout your careers in order to remain competitive. More fundamentally, it implies that you will want to continue learning in order to be aware of changes that are occurring in our rapidly changing world. Okay, so that's important, folks. That is just the way the world is going. And I think that's a good thing for us, for everyone. It's a good thing. All right. What professional development are you planning short and long term? Summarize your professional development plan. Okay. What personal development are you planning short and long term? Summarize personal development plan. Okay, next. What specific skills and or hobbies do you wish to nurture? Flying airplanes, building cars, etc. All right. What future education plans do you have? Summarize them. Family planning. You ought to give lots of thought to each of the following. What plans do you have for socializing, meeting people, dating? What do you seek in a partner, value-wise, education-wise, financially, etc.? What matters most to you about your partner? What plans do you have for marriage, for kids, for making important decisions together, etc.? Some of these questions are philosophical in nature. What is your philosophy of life? Okay, what's the meaning of life for you? What will it be for you and your spouse, for you and your family? How will you answer that for you and your spouse, for you and your family? What would be your approach to answering that? Okay? And that can involve the church. religion. Okay? And so that's important, folks. The spiritual component of your life is very, very important. Something that you need to think about. It should be addressed in this comprehensive career plan, right? Because if anything is left unaddressed, then everything else can suffer. Travel plans. Is traveling important to you? Why? What are places you would like to visit? Why? Right? When do you want to visit them? Okay? Do you want to live overseas for some time? Do you want to contribute or lend your talents to some third world nation? Do you wish to serve in the Peace Corps, etc.? Investment plans. What investment plans do you have? What plans do you have for your retirement? How do you plan to educate yourself with respect to investment and retirement? Okay? Okay. When you join a company for full-time employment, you typically fill out retirement forms during the first or second week of work. You want to have some plan in mind before doing this, which means you got to be thinking a little bit about retirement and economics, and the economics of retirement before you go to that job. Because once you get to that job with the first, second week, you're already filling out retirement stuff. And that's not cool if you haven't thought about it. All right, so let's keep going. What about contingency plans? What backup plans do you have? Sometimes things do not work out the way we want. Backup plans are therefore important. Backup plans are essential. Essential. Okay? By no means am I suggesting that you give up when things get a little tough. No way. No way in hell. Okay? All right. You may have backup plans sprinkled throughout your career plan. All right. Next, philosophy of life. What is really important to you? For example, work, having fun, relationships, families, religion, values, ethics, contributing to the nation, contributing to the world, etc. What are your important values? What basic rules will you live by? How will you deal with uncertainty, bad times? It is very important to have a philosophy of life that keeps you grounded and sustains you throughout your career. Other issues. What other issues do you think have been left out from the above career plan? References. Provide a comprehensive list of references in your plan. Papers, books, theses, reports, etc. So that you know where you obtain certain pieces of information in the future. All right? You should do this, let's see, for anything you write that you plan on revisiting in the future. This is part of thorough documentation. Okay. Let me just say here that you will learn over time that thorough documentation saves time. Lots of time over the long run. So I see many people that don't, for example, put comments in their programs, and they're just creating more work for themselves later on. More work for themselves, more work for others, because you need to put put comments in your programs. That's essential. And in any document that you need to document what you do well, whatever it is you do, because that saves time. And with that being said, I'm done, and I'll say thank you. Again, I want to apologize if this was a lot longer than I would have liked it to have been, but and and a bit, maybe I could have made it much more exciting, but I did try to make it somewhat comprehensive because I care. I want you to be thinking about these things, and these things are important. You want to be thinking about these things now, not like probably most people 10, 15 years from now, when most of the cards have been dealt. There might be a few cards left to be dealt, but most of them have been dealt, and so therefore there's not that much you can do. Now, very few cards have been dealt. Your students, most of the cards have not been dealt yet. So plan. Plan your work, work your plan. See you again in another video. Thank you.